computer vision. Maybe you also know about machine learning, but I think it's a new topic. So I hope that you find it interesting. Okay. So, by the way, thank you for the introduction. It's really nice to be invited by PEA. And if you have any questions, you can just type in the chat box, or you can just ask in the end of the session. All right. So let me start from my side. Okay. I think you have already seen my screen right now. So let me start from the beginning. Okay. So today, we would like to learn about a new topic, which I believe that it's interesting about this topic. It's about computer vision and generative AI in geosciences. I believe that uh, the people who are joining right now mostly are from geosciences, right? So, but I think there are some people also outside geoscience. Yeah. So I try to make this topic as interesting as it can be. So I don't want to make some complex terminologies, but if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. It's about computer vision and AI for geoscience. So um, we see a lot of developments right now in the recent years. Lots of advances in machine learning and AI, if you say ChatGPT or LLM. This kind of applications are really booming right now. So lots of people are learning machine learning. They are learning data science, but computer vision is something else. So computer vision is a part of AI, or you can say it's AI, or you can say it's machine learning. But it works more on the images and videos. So you maybe you know about Tesla, like a self-driving car. They have cameras on top of the car. It can see everything. It can see lots of obstacles, people in front of your car. So this kind of applications using computer vision to perform lots of tasks, that is very important to humans. So after the introduction, maybe I would like to introduce myself. Currently, I'm working with Progress in Norway as a data scientist. Currently, we are working on computer vision. It's a new applications. Why we are working in computer vision, because we would like to try something new that maybe can be useful for our petroleum industry. So that's why we are developing right now a kind of application to predict porosity and permeability from core images. Before, I was working with APP Sinarmas. It's a pulp and paper company. If I'm talking about my background, is a little bit interesting. I'm coming from geophysics background, but later in 3 years, I was moving to a pulp and paper industry as a data scientist. So you might ask, wow, very interesting. So uh, I think right now I'm already in the right place. Right now, you can say I was in geophysics. Right now, I'm already in oil and gas. So, but this kind of knowledge that I get from my previous company, I also uh, lead a team that develops a dashboard for sustainability, and I was working more on computer vision. But because Asia Pulp and Paper, as a forestry company, they own forests, so this application it is more on forest. But I believe that computer vision is also applicable to oil and gas. So we will learn about it in this webinar. Currently, I also pursue my master's in Politecnico di Milano for business analytics and big data. So this kind of like things is really useful and important for oil and gas. Okay. So what are the outlines, or what are the main points of our discussion today? First, I would like to introduce you to computer vision. Maybe some of you haven't ever heard about computer vision. And also, after that, we are discussing about the methods and the models of computer vision. And we will discuss two interesting use cases. After that, you will learn about generative AI. I think you have already known about generative AI. You uh, every day you are working with ChatGPT or Gemini or any other fancy chatbots. It's a kind of like generative AI. Today, we would like to discuss the generative AI that is more on vision. So we will talk more about these applications in the second session and the applications of this generative AI in oil and gas, and we will conclude the session. All right. So um, actually, because I was in class and in offline mode, so I I often ask my students, my participants, about their opinions. So, but if you would like to ask something, you can just type in the chat box. Uh, I will make it as interactive as it can be. So you can just type your responses in the chat box. So feel free. Computer vision. What is computer vision? Computer vision is actually is a field of AI that is handling more images. To say that it's AI, sometimes computer vision is not always AI. It's a field to analyze images. For example, you have lots of images, you have photos in your phone, you have photos in your computer, and you would like to ask specific information from your photos, you will apply computer vision. In this slide, I show four important tasks or four common tasks in computer vision. The first one is image recognition. So if we are going from 1, 2, 3, 4, the task will be more complex. In the first task, computer vision is useful to identify which object is I'm looking at right now. So it will decide whether or not this is cat or whether or not this is dog. So it is one of the tasks in computer vision. The second task is object detection. So imagine you have lots of objects in your photos. Maybe you would like to spot one person, maybe you have ever played like Where is Waldo? It is a kind of like a book for children, but adults they used to play with it. So uh, um, you need to find Waldo in the book. So it's kind of like automatic detection using computer vision. So it's called object detection. So you just recognize the object and then you will build the bounding box. The third one is semantic segmentation. The third and the fourth is different. Why? Because semantic segmentation is to segment uh, different objects. So here, for example, uh, there is a dock and there are three ships. So a dock and three ships are segmented in a different way, right? So this is a segment for dock. This is a segment for the ship. But instant segmentation is different. You have three ships, and you need to distinguish the first, the second, and the third ship. So um, going from 1 to 4, the task becomes more complex. And I will discuss and I will explain the complexity of this task. So the question is why computer vision is so growing. We see a lot of advances in technology. We see advances in camera. Of course, in photography, I think there are improvements in resolutions. People are making cameras that can see long distances, and even if you maybe buy like Xiaomi or I don't want to speak one brand, but mostly a camera on phone, uh, they have kind of like mechanism that will place your camera even though it's shaking. So it's placed in one direction. So it keeps your phone from shaking, and then your photo is still fine. So the kind of like advancement in technology, this is driving the growth of computer vision. And to mention about GPU or computational power is also increasing. So also like there are lots of models. If you heard about Google is releasing about Polygama, it's a model for computer vision. So and then maybe YOLO, it's also developing from version 1 to right now we have version 10. So in terms of the model and deep learning researches are growing right now. And also we have a modern and more secure data storage. So these four factors play a role in the growth of computer vision. You might ask, where are these applications of computer vision in geosciences? You can find in seismic interpretation. You can also see some applications in petrophysics, in geology, and remote sensing. But honestly, I see that computer vision is still new in geoscience. Maybe in other industries like in mining, they already adopt this technology. But in oil and gas, I feel that this computer vision is still underexplored. But I can see the gap between research and commercialization. In research, there are lots of applications, lots of studies, lots of projects that uses computer vision in researches. But in commercialization, we often cannot see this kind of like application. So I can say that computer vision is a very, very prospective technology that maybe can transform oil and gas in the next 5 or in the next 10 years. So if you are here, it's time to learn about this new field. And then if you are interested to apply, just read some papers and then just see where is it heading for the next 5 for the next 10 years. Okay, so right now I would like to discuss about the methods of computer vision. There are two kinds actually. If we are talking about computer vision, it's not always about AI. There is also traditional part in it. So if you are processing image, let's say you are using Adobe Photoshop, it's a kind of like computer vision in just a simple task. You can edit a photo, you can just change the color of the photo, you can just change the saturation, you can just place one object on a photo. It's called a computer vision. But computer vision here, it's also related to AI. So we can just use AI to automate this kind of like repetitive task, right? So the question here is how computers see images. Um, we see a lot of objects within our eyes. It is normal, but we never ask ourselves how we see an object, right? So but the answer is visible. The eyeball has retina to capture the images. But how about computers? How they see the images? So it turns out that in computer, if you see an image is composed by three components or three channels, let's say. This unit is called pixel. So in one picture, it will composed of lots of pixels. If we are saying about megapixels, it is 1,000 of pixels in a photo. So computers see images as pixels, not as a whole, as not as a whole picture. One image is composed of three channels. The first one is red, green, and blue, right? So um, if we see, for example, a color, is it actually composed of three different spectrum of color? So you see here, this is an example of a pixel in a real computer. Um, I have a microscope that maybe I think 2 months ago I tried to look at the microscope and then and then there is a LCD and then I just look at the LCD and this is exactly the thing that you will see with microscope if you see on LCD. This kind of like pixelated picture is exactly what you see right now in your monitor. So if you magnify using microscope, you will see this pattern, the RGB pattern, and how they define the color. It is intensity of every colors. So for example, if we are talking about red, so it means that the intensity of the red color is higher than the other color. So red will be more dominant than the green and the blue band, right? So images is also composed of three layers. So we can, in programming, we will see it as a three stacks or three array. So one image, it has a big width, it has height, and also it has channel. So this is the way that that computer can see images in the monitor. In remote sensing, things can be more complicated. Maybe you have ever heard about hyperspectral or multispectral. They have not only three, but they have lots of channels, color channels. So, but for petroleum geosciences, we often deal with these three channels. But in remote sensing, maybe for mining, maybe for forestry or applications, other applications, they will have lots of channels because they give different meanings and different interpretation for each channel. Okay. All right, so there are different type of computer vision tasks. The first one, as I already mentioned, is image classification. The second one is image regression. So the idea is, for example, there's a picture of for example, um, a Ferrari, and you compare it with, I don't know, maybe Honda, and then you train a model to automatically tell you uh, how many price is the car on the photo. So the model can guess what's the price of my laptop. For example, you compare with MacBook with, for example, any other laptop, and it will tell you how much price is this MacBook compared with this. So this is called image regression. Also, we know object detection, object segmentation, and key point. Key point is different. It is I will show later. So you can see the components of a person. For example, they are moving or they are running right now. So it will detect like the components. Where are the hands? Where are the legs? So they 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 know the components of this object. Okay, so the the most important part of computer vision is actually relying on convolutional neural network. What is CNN? CNN is simply kind of like a model that computer vision often uses. So um, in this convolutional neural network, or we can call it CNN, is actually um, a collection of networks, right? So um, in deep learning or machine learning, we know about artificial neural network or ANN. CNN is different because it handles for image. So CNN is an artificial neural network for image, right? So if we feed in image as input, so this CNN can recognize. For example, here there's zebra. The CNN will identify which animal in this photo. So CNN is basically a collection of neural networks. They have convolutional layers. Also, they have pooling layer. They have flattened layer, and they have a fully connected layer. Don't worry with this very complex terminologies. I don't want to complicate or I don't want to make you confused. But the general idea is that CNN is the engine of every models that are running the world right now. We are talking about Tesla. We are talking about other applications. They are using CNN as the engine to run this application. So there are also what is called as transfer learning. So it's let's say lots of researchers, they have also developed lots of models. They have trained AI within themselves. And then, for example, we would like to modify their models. So it is called transfer learning. So we use the models that have been already developed before for our application. So it's called transfer learning. In transfer learning, there are lots of models. Just four of them is VGG 16, MobileNet, ResNet, and then MobileNet or EfficientNet. lots of models that we can see in transfer learning. And the beauty of transfer learning is you don't have to train a model like for hours, let's say for 6 hours. You can just use this model to speed up everything. So maybe instead of having like 6 hours of training, we can just use this to speed up our training, and then we can use this for maybe 3 hours or just 1 hour of training. So I find the transfer learning is very useful for different tasks, right? So what is called as SOTA? SOTA is a kind of like a very or well-known models that people are using for computer vision. SOTA model, they are divided to three components in deep learning. We differentiate into three components. The first one is backbone, neck, and head. So these different three components, they play a role in different tasks in the transfer learning. So the backbone, for example, it processes the image, right, as an input, and the neck part, it will generate region proposal, and the head will suggest like or to localize the object or give the bounding box for the object. Let's say we are seeing an elephant, and we would like to describe like what is an elephant and what elephant looks like, right? So, okay, we are seeing elephant, and we will describe to a person who doesn't know about elephant. So maybe he's asking, what is an elephant? And can you describe an elephant? We can describe it. It has very large ears. It has a very long tail. It has a very big body, or it's very heavy. So the time that we see an elephant is on the backbone part of this model. So the backbone, we will see the image, and then going from backbone to neck, it will describe the features. So the features of the elephant, maybe the ears, maybe the tail. So um, it will describe an image using what is called as region proposal. It's a kind of like okay. So if we describe an elephant, the most important feature is the ears, because the ears is very large, and also the body is very large. So the model will suggest you what are the most important features that maybe you can distinguish this object and the other object. So that's the general idea actually. And then the head will tell you it is an elephant or it's so. Using this analogy, this is actually going on in the computer vision model. So this is the way that the model or the computer can see the image. There are lots of segmentation models here. So we have four models. The first one is UNet. Uh, this keeps growing currently, so there are lots of models right now, but these four are the most, I think, the most popular model that we use mainly in computer vision. Mass RCNN, Detectron. Detectron is from Meta, previously Facebook. This is a model to segment an object. Also, there is another Facebook or Meta model that is called the SAM, or segment anything model. Maybe you have ever heard about like 2 years ago. It is very booming. If you follow this kind of like updates, maybe on LinkedIn, you will see lots of posts at the time about SAM. So SAM is one of the segmentation models. Detection models. Uh, YOLO is the most popular model that we see right now, but previously we know about mass RCNN, faster RCNN. These are other two models. But YOLO, it's a very fun, because YOLO is growing from version 1 to right now version 10. So imagine you will have maybe YOLO version 100 in the next 10 years, because every year I think YOLO evolved like from version 8, version 9, version 10. It happens in 3 years. So um, computer vision models are very growing nowadays. And then the key point detection. So if you see here in this animation, you can see a person that is walking there. So a key point model, it will um, um, give you the key points of an object. So not only humans, but it can also apply to other applications, maybe in medical or animal conservation. So this is really really cool. I know if you maybe you know about football, currently they also use this kind of like technology to analyze. For example, there is a player that contributes to lots of I don't know maybe goals. So they use this kind of like technology to understand the behaviors of each player. So computer vision is very, I mean, like it's very, very fun to study and very fun to learn. Also, so this kind of like applications is very, I think it's very interesting. So maybe you will wait for me, how this computer vision is applied for petroleum geosciences. Let me start from the first use case. Actually, this use cases, it was my own project. So I will share with you my experiences and my key learnings of this use cases. The first use case that I would like to share with you is the automatic rock typing from core. So maybe you know that in the oil and gas drilling activity, you will produce lots of cores, right? Lots of really long cores. And when these cores are brought to the lab, the petrophysicists or geologists will analyze the lithology, the phases, the types, or the petrophysical parameters like porosity or permeability, right? So uh, traditionally, this process takes a really, really long time, like maybe a week, or maybe you handle lots of very, very deep well. It can be like maybe more than 1 week, maybe 3 weeks. So interpretation takes lots of time as well as the resources, right? So the idea is how to automate this kind of like interpretation using deep learning. We know that computer vision helps in lots of applications. How can we apply this computer vision to help us to interpret from this core to an interpreted core using deep learning? I think this can be really interesting to oil and gas companies, but I can see maybe later, if you're interested, you can discuss with me maybe the benefits or the disadvantages of using computer vision in this kind of like applications. But I can see that this kind of like workflow will speed up everything, but of course, it will need some human supervision at the end. So the idea is we make a detection in the first part, and then we will run QC that will be supervised by geologists to check or to judge whether or not the interpretation is correct, right? But it will speed up everything. So it will start from labeling and annotation. You will need to annotate the different lithology in your core. There are lots of tools for annotation. The most popular tool is called the RoboFlow. If you are interested to learn more about computer vision, maybe we can arrange some sessions, some dedicated course for this computer vision, and we will try ourselves how to annotate course, and then we can have it hands-on with RoboFlow. So this is a process that we need to generate as much images because as a model, it needs to learn from lots of examples. It can be hundreds of images, maybe 200. In this case, we use 500 images as a model, as a data to for the model to train. So yeah, this is the animation. It is interesting to see the colors. Yeah, and then also the different lithologies of the core. You will need to annotate it manually, and then there are I think seven different lithophases that we can see from this core. If we are talking about distribution, this is really important because if we have an imbalanced number of classes or samples, it will make our model not enough to learn. So you can see in this slide, there are five pages that are very, very underbalanced, like this, the samples are too few. So there are lots of challenges actually. We need to make this data set more balanced because if you have an unbalanced data, your model cannot tends to predict the massive sandstone, the top 2 or 3 facies that has the most numbers as the most accurate, but the model cannot predict accurately the samples that are too few. So we can just solve this using data augmentation that I will explain later, but we need to care about distribution. So one of the techniques to solve this problem is about the data augmentation. So the idea is just to rotate and then to flip the image, and then, or maybe you can just change the color of the image so that if we are going to the previous slide, it will add the samples there are too few. Maybe we can just flip, we can just rotate, um, we can just change the color. So the numbers will needs to be balanced. So we can use this. But some techniques are not applicable to some tasks. In this task, if we are talking about segmentation, we cannot use several tasks. Why? Because in segmentation, we need to define objects or cores or little facies between different colors, right? So if we shift the color maybe darker, it will make your model confused. So um, this is what I talk very often to someone who would like to try augmentation. So I stress that not all augmentation is applicable to certain tasks. So, but data augmentation, this can be applied to solve the imbalanced data. So we are training this with YOLOP 8, and we need to convert this segment as a polygon, and from polygon to numerical. So this kind of like process is required for the model to train based on the numerical. So we are talking about a model. We need to evaluate whether or not is it accurate or not. So there are lots of metrics, how good and accurate our model is. There are lots of metrics that we can use, precision and recall. Basically, to evaluate our model, we can just evaluate how many samples are predicted incorrectly, and how many samples are predicted correctly, and then we can just compare. If the number of the wrong predictions are more than the correct predictions, so it means that your model needs to be improved. So until we make a very accurate model, so we are confident with this model, and then it's time to apply this model for our detection. So the segmentation model here, um, once we build a model, we can just use this model. Just maybe I think just few milliseconds, it will produce the exactly the result of the segmentation. You can see here, this is the original core, and the next one is the segmented core, and it is able to segment different lithologies. So using this kind of like workflows, I think it's really useful for companies to adopt because it will save time. But there is a disclaimer that you need to have the feedbacks or advice from geologists in order to validate uh, whether or not your result is makes sense, or is it logical, or is it correct based on the geological notation. So it is important to keep in mind that we still need humans, we still need people to validate our model. So I think this is really useful. This is the same thing that we are currently developing in ProRes in our company right now, but it is a little bit different from this. So we go from core, and then we automatically predict the porosity and permeability. So that's very interesting, I think, and not so many players in this currently. So I can say that computer vision is very promising, and it can help lots of tasks in oil and gas. And then how about the second use case? Here, I would like to discuss about another interesting applications for seabed mapping. I recently did this with a client. So they are concentrating in seabed mapping. The problem is actually in oil rig installation, oil rig infrastructure. You need to place your infrastructure in the right place, right? So you need to map the seabed so that you need you need to avoid boulders, big stones on the seabed to make sure that your structure is stable. So how do we map the seafloor, right? It's maybe it sounds very science fiction, but we often I don't know, maybe there are some geophysicists here. Um, we are doing a side scan sonar. So using side scan sonar, it will map different features on the seabed. It can analyze the morphology of our seabed or our seafloor. But the object that is very dangerous to oil rig is the boulder, the big rock on the sea map, or sorry, on the seafloor. So we characterize this big border here. If you see this image, it can be captured using the side scan sonar. But we are interested to find the height of the boulder. In order for us to measure the height of the boulder, we need to look at the image, and then we need to calculate the length of the shadow, because when you are running a side scan sonar, for example, this is the stone, and you fly from here, for example, it has a certain angle, so there is a shadow behind the border. So we measure the shadow, and then we can determine the height of the border. It sounds really interesting. So how do we do this kind of like challenge? We can use the key point detection. So the idea is, you have a border. You can recognize the border as the head, and the shadow as the tail. So we can just apply key point model detection to solve this problem. Here, you need to annotate your data. So you need to define where is the border, and where is the shadow. So maybe if you can see here, let me pull out my laser pointer. So you will see here, right? This is the border, and this is the shadow. This is the border, and this is the shadow. So there are two different positions, the port and the starboard. So if we see from this one, so the vehicles will move from this to this, and then it will capture a different position. So this is the port, this is the starboard, this is the port. So this is how it looks. This is the border, and this is the shadow. Okay. And then how we make a model to distinguish this border. We can use YOLO V8, or we can use other methods, other models that I already mentioned before, lots of models. And you need to do some trainings as well, of course. And then this is the result. So using computer vision, it can accurately see the tail, the border, and also the shadow. So you can use this model to detect not only boulders, but other objects on the sea floor. So um, key point is more complex than bounding box or object detection. So if you are still remember why I said that for different tasks the complexity becomes more complex. So in this application, key point model is the most complicated, but I think it's comparable with segmentation, because I think it's also not very easy to train this model, and also the time it takes to train the model is also very long. But thanks to GPU, it splits up everything. Okay, so um, right now we change our topic to what is called as generative computer vision. We know, maybe we have ever heard about ChatGPT. It is one of the application of the generative AI. But in this presentation, I would like to present a new or different topic, which is called a generative computer vision. If you know that ChatGPT is for language, you can just type, or you can just chat with the ChatGPT, and then maybe you can just um, get what you want in just seconds. Maybe you are working with some stuffs on in the office, and then you need some supervisions, or maybe you are programming something and you would like to see the bugs, or to help us making or creating codes. ChatGPT is very it's very popular right now. But maybe you've ever heard about generating image from text, right? So this is also a part of like generative AI, but it's more on computer vision. There are three kinds of like generative computer vision. The first one is from image to image. So, for example, you would like to hear, for example, a painting. I don't know. I think it's from Rembrandt or I think it's from Van Gogh. This is so the idea is to in generative is it called GAN? It's a generative adversarial networks. This is used to make something that has never existed before. Of course, you don't see this in, I don't know, in Louvre or in museums or in other places. You only see this using GAN or generative adversarial network. So um, you can also maybe just make, for example, like panda riding bicycle or a rabbit that is riding on a horse. So this kind of like images has never existed before. So this uses what is called as a GAN or generative adversarial networks. A GAN is actually it's simple actually intuitively because the logic is actually we learn from just some images and then we would like to train a model that can replicate the input that we feed to the model, and then um, this is called generator. So you generate lots of fake images. But in the other side, there is a discriminator. So the task of discriminator is to judge whether or not your generated image is fake or real. It will run iteratively, like 100 epochs, let's say, and then until your discriminator tell you that I cannot differentiate is it a real rabbit or wrong or fake rabbit. So at that point, the model stops, and then it will give you exactly a fake images of something, maybe rabbit or maybe the other animals or the other objects as well. So this kind of logic is used in GAN. So it replicates images that has never existed before. How do we apply this in geosciences? I think there are lots of applications, but maybe in commercial, it's not really developing right now. But in research, there are lots of opportunities and also studies. Right now, we have a reconstruction of 3D model. Let's say we have a thin slice and we would like to reconstruct the 3D, so we can use GAN, and we can also generate seismic to outcrop. You know that maybe I think I know someone from Indonesia. He's currently teaching in one university in Indonesia. He's developing a kind of like a model that builds from outcrop to seismic. So I think two applications here are already commercial, but it's really promising right now because we are seeing a lot of traditional, lots of tasks in oil and gas are still done in traditional ways. So uh, we can use GAN to revolutionize this task and to speed up everything or to make something that has never existed before to help our activities. The other applications is called the diffusion model. So previously, we are talking from image to image. Right now, we are talking from text to image. Maybe you have ever tried Midjourney. It's an application where you can just create an image from from task. You can just make something. You can write down on your keyboard, and then it will generate you a simple image. So this is called the diffusion model. So there are lots of models that are maybe popular. The first one is OpenAI. They released a DALL-E, I think 2 years ago, and also from Google. It's called an image or image generator. So I don't want to complicate you with this diagram. So this is basically the the building blocks of a diffusion model. So basically, we have an image, and then we convert this image to kind of like vectors of task. And then from this task, it will generate you a new kind of like image. So this is the building blocks of this diffusion model. If you are interested, I can share with you maybe in other dedicated course or session. We can learn about this in depth. Also, there is the third type is from image to text. This is really cool right now. So uh, it can answer your question. So for example, you are seeing something in your document or in your book, and you would like to describe what is inside this image. So for example, you can upload this cat and pie, and then you can just input it in this vision transformer, and maybe you can ask what is in this image, and it will give you an answer. Okay, so a cat wearing a small brown hat. So um, this is kind of like a visual question and answering. Maybe you have a table or you have a graph, and you would like the model to explain to you what is it about, or you can just maybe to locate the object. So for example, I can just ask here, like, can you show me the brown hat in this image? And then it will give you exactly the bounding box or the location of the hat. So this is really cool right now. This is called as a language vision model or large vision model, the LVM. But I think this is really useful in petroleum industry. Why? Because, for example, we are seeing thin slice. We can just ask the image, can you identify what are the minerals in this photo? You can just ask, and then the model will give you, oh, okay, so this image it has maybe 30% of quartz or 20% of carbonates, or or maybe like 20% of shale or clay minerals, elite or kaolinite, if you say. So this kind of like applications can answer lots of questions that you are asking. Also from images, so from this kind of like seismic images, you can just ask, like, can you give me the faults of this seismic image, and then it will give you the location, the exact location of the faults in this seismic image. So I think maybe it is not really popular, maybe in geoscience, but I believe that in the next 1 year or 2 years, this kind of like applications will be very, very popular and very helpful for the oil and gas industry. I think I need to wrap up very quickly. So I would like to just share my latest paper, which will be published in the Springer LNCS. This paper is actually, I would like to share with you that a computer vision, sometimes we need to overcome lots of challenges with this image. If you see here, for example, you can see lots of conditions in this image. Some of them, maybe they have shadow, some of them they have overexposure. So lots of lights in the in this photo, and also maybe the photo can look some more yellowish, or this kind of like conditions can occur in this image. So this is actually not the case of oil and gas. This is an oil palm tree, even though this is the same oil, but it's different. This is more agriculture. But I would like to, why I would like to bring this to you, because you can see that computer vision also needs some techniques to process this image. If you have low quality issues, you need to take concern on this kind of like images. So the problem is using low quality images. You can see that compared this and this, there are some significant degradation of objects. So here, for example, with ideal high quality, the model can distinguish all of the fruits here. But if we make this image darker, the model cannot distinguish this fruit, right? So it's called the performance degradation. So this will impact the model generalization. In this paper, we have solved this using histogram matching. So the idea is, if we have an image with low quality, we can just transform it to an image that looks more normal, right? So the general idea is, for example, we take one image, a reference image, the normal image, and then we transform the image that we'd like to transform based on this reference. So we can just transform it to to um to 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 the reference image. We in this paper we also use model stacking. So we experiment lots of models and we stack the results of these models. And you can see here the improvement if uh, we implement this kind of like processing. So this is before application. This is after the application. You can see the improvement. So why I would like to bring this slide to you, because maybe in seismic images, for example, they have lots of issues. Maybe the noises or uh, some errors during the seismic processing. So I think we can just use this kind of like workflow in geosciences. If we have images, it is not always good, but you can also see lots of bad images with bad resolutions or any other problems. So we need to be really creative in using computer vision. So wrap up this presentation. I can say that computer vision is very useful for you to maybe currently you are working with the petroleum geosciences, maybe in subsurface. Computer vision can help you to understand from images. You can do lots of tasks using computer vision. You can do computer vision to identify a core lithology. You can perform it to maybe to predict something from your core images, or you can also use it for seismic data, for example. So also the Gen AI, I think it's very promising right now. I think we will see lots of applications in the next year or in the next 2 years. There will be lots of applications using Gen AI. As I told you, the VIT is very interesting right now. So it can be a way to speed up everything using computer vision. All right. So thank you